Welcome. Tonight, we travel back more than 2,000 years to a city that no longer exists. A city that once rivaled Rome. A city of harbors and gardens, of merchants and philosophers, of 900,000 souls. A city that, by the end of our story, will be ash. This is the story of the fall of Carthage. Sit back. Breathe deeply. And let the centuries fold over you. To understand how Carthage fell, you must first understand what Carthage was. Founded, by tradition, in the year 814 before the Common Era, by Phoenician settlers from the city of Tyre, Carthage rose on the northern coast of Africa, on a peninsula jutting into the bay of what is now Tunis. Its founders were sailors. Its lifeblood was trade. And for over 6 centuries, Carthaginian ships moved silver from Spain, tin from Britain, ivory from the African interior, and grain from Sicily across every shore of the Mediterranean. By the 3rd century before Christ, Carthage was, in every meaningful sense, the most prosperous city in the Western world. And it had a problem. Its name was Rome. The two cities had fought before. Twice, in fact. The First Punic War, beginning in the year 264 before Christ, was fought largely at sea, over the island of Sicily. It lasted 23 years. Rome won, but only just. The Second Punic War, beginning in 218 before Christ, brought Hannibal Barca, the great Carthaginian general, across the Alps with his war elephants, into the very heart of Italy. He won battle after battle. He stood, at one point, within sight of the walls of Rome itself. And yet, Rome endured. Rome regrouped. Rome won. By 201 before Christ, Carthage was beaten. Its navy was reduced to 10 ships. Its empire was stripped away. It was forced to pay an enormous indemnity, year after year, for 50 years. But Carthage was not destroyed. Not yet. For half a century, the city lived in a strange twilight. Wealthy still, for trade returned, and the harbors hummed again. But unarmed. Watched. Bound by treaty to ask Rome's permission before it could so much as defend itself from a raider. And in Rome, an old senator watched, and grew uneasy. His name was Marcus Porcius Cato. We know him today as Cato the Elder. He had served as a young soldier in the Second Punic War. He had seen what Hannibal could do. And in his old age, after a diplomatic visit to Carthage, he returned to Rome shaken. For he had not found a humbled city. He had found a prosperous one. The markets were full. The harbors were busy. New buildings rose in the suburbs. Carthage, he believed, was healing. And a healed Carthage, in time, would be a danger again. From that visit forward, Cato ended every single speech he gave in the Roman Senate, on every topic, taxes, roads, festivals, anything, with the same 6 words. Cetrum censeo Carthaginem est delendam. Furthermore, I believe Carthage must be destroyed. He repeated this phrase, day after day, for years. It became, in time, less an opinion than a prophecy. In the year 149 before Christ, the prophecy moved towards its fulfillment. Carthage, provoked beyond endurance by the raids of a neighboring African king who was, in effect, a Roman client, finally took up arms in self-defense. By the strict letter of its treaty with Rome, this was a violation. It was the pretext Rome had been waiting for. A Roman army crossed the sea. The Third Punic War had begun. The Carthaginians, terrified, sent embassy after embassy. They offered hostages. They offered weapons. They offered, in the end, to do whatever Rome demanded. And Rome's demands grew, slowly, deliberately, more cruel. First, 300 children of the noblest families, as hostages. Carthage complied. Then, all weapons and armor, every piece, surrendered. Carthage complied. 200,000 suits of armor and 2,000 catapults were carried out of the city gates. And then, at last, the final demand. The city itself must be abandoned. Its population must move at least 10 miles inland. The old city, by the sea, must be destroyed. When this was read aloud to the Carthaginian envoys, they wept. And then they returned home and told their people. And the people of Carthage, who had given up everything, their children, their weapons, their pride, decided, at that moment, that they would give up nothing more. They would fight. What followed was one of the most extraordinary defenses in the history of the ancient world. A disarmed city, with no weapons, no armor, and no allies, prepared to face the full weight of the Roman war machine. In a matter of weeks, the workshops of Carthage produced, from scratch, 140 shields a day, 300 swords a day, 500 javelins a day, 1,000 missiles for the catapults each day. The women of Carthage cut their long hair and braided it into ropes for the new catapults that were being built, in secret, behind the walls. Slaves were freed and armed. Old men took up posts on the parapets. Children carried water and bread to the soldiers. For 3 years, the city held. 3 years. The Roman armies came, and were repulsed. The Roman fleets blockaded the harbors, and the Carthaginians, in a single night, dug a new channel through the sand to let their hastily built ships out into the sea. The Romans were astonished. The Senate, back in Italy, grew impatient. And in the year 147 before Christ, command of the siege passed to a young general named Publius Cornelius Scipio Aemilianus, the adopted grandson of the very Scipio who had defeated Hannibal half a century before. Scipio was methodical. He was patient. He was, in the way of certain Roman commanders, almost gentle in his manner, and absolutely merciless in his planning. He surrounded the city completely. He built a great mole of stone across the harbor mouth, cutting Carthage off from the sea. He tightened the noose, month by month. By the spring of 146 before Christ, the city was starving. And then, in that spring, the final assault began. The walls of Carthage were breached at the harbor. The Romans poured in. But Carthage did not fall in a single day. It did not fall in a single week. For 17 days and 17 nights, the Romans fought their way, street by street, house by house, towards the citadel at the center of the city. The Carthaginians, knowing that surrender meant slavery or death, defended every doorway. They fought from the rooftops. They cast tiles and beams down upon the legionaries below. They set fire to their own homes rather than let them be taken. The streets ran with blood, and with the rain that came each night to put out, briefly, the fires. Scipio ordered that the houses be torn down behind his soldiers as they advanced, so that the dead and the dying could be cleared, and the advance could continue. In those 17 nights, it is said, 6 districts of the city were utterly destroyed. When at last the citadel surrendered, the survivors numbered perhaps 50,000. Of a city that, 3 years earlier, had held 700,000 souls. They were taken into slavery. The city was given over, by order of the Roman Senate, to total destruction. For 10 days, Carthage burned. The fires were so great that the smoke could be seen from the coast of Sicily, across the sea. When the fires at last went out, Scipio walked through the ruins with a Greek historian named Polybius, his friend and tutor. And Polybius, writing later, remembered that Scipio wept. For he had seen, with his own eyes, a great city brought to nothing. And he had quoted, softly, lines from Homer's Iliad, about the day when Troy itself would fall. "There will come a day," he said, "when sacred Troy shall perish, and Priam and his people shall be slain." He was thinking, Polybius understood, not of Carthage, but of Rome. For every city, in time, falls. The Romans did more than destroy the city. They demolished the walls. They tore up the foundations. They forbade anyone, on pain of death, ever to live there again. In time, a new Roman city would rise on the same site, a colony founded by Julius Caesar himself, more than a century later. But the old Carthage, the Punic city, the rival of Rome, that Carthage was gone. Its language faded. Its books were burned, or carried off, or simply lost. Its gods were forgotten. Today, if you visit Tunis, you can walk among the ruins. A few stones of the old walls remain. The outline of the military harbor, the famous circular port, can still be traced in the grass beside the sea. It is very quiet there now. If you stand on the hill at sunset, and you listen, you can hear nothing but the wind, and the distant traffic of a modern city, and the cry of seabirds over a calm bay. And it is hard, sometimes, to believe that once, for 17 nights, this hill was on fire. History does not always teach the lessons we wish it would. The fall of Carthage did not bring peace. It did not even bring Rome peace. The same Scipio who wept over Carthage would, 2 years later, lead another army to destroy another great city, Numantia, in Spain. Rome's wars went on. Rome's empire grew. And, in time, Rome too would fall. But on a quiet evening, 2,170 years ago, the world lost something. A way of speaking, a way of building, a way of imagining the gods. Tonight, perhaps, we have remembered it. Thank you for joining me. May your sleep be deep and your dreams be quiet. Until next time.